If the real cause of misery in old age isn't your health or finances, but the simple truths you stop holding on to? As we get older, it's easy to assume that the hardest part of aging is physical decline or loneliness. But ask someone truly unhappy in old age, and you'll often find they feel life lost its meaning or something important was left unresolved. The truth is, it's not always about what you didn't have, but what you didn't learn. And sometimes it's the lessons we refuse to accept that keep us stuck in cycles of regret, bitterness, or emptiness. In this video, we're going to walk through 5 life lessons that people often learn too late. But you don't have to be one of them. Whether you're 60, 70, or 85, these truths can still transform the quality of your life. They're not about pretending things are fine. They're about taking back your emotional strength, reclaiming peace, and making your later years feel not just longer, but richer and more meaningful. Now, let's get started. Lesson number 1. The power of letting go of past hurts. One of the hardest things to accept as we get older is that not everything will be resolved the way we hoped. Some relationships don't heal, some dreams don't come true, and some things we worked for just don't last. But here's the truth. Carrying resentment, bitterness, or regret into your later years is like dragging a bag of rocks through the final stretch of a marathon. It doesn't get you where you want to go. It only makes every step heavier. Letting go is not about pretending something didn't hurt. It's not about saying it was okay when it wasn't. Letting go is about choosing peace over the illusion of control. It's understanding that life doesn't owe us closure and people don't always give us the apology we deserve. But that doesn't mean we have to stay stuck in the pain. In fact, the older we get, the more we realize clinging to what hurt us only takes away from the time and energy we could be using to build joy. Psychologically, holding on to emotional wounds keeps the body in a stress state. Cortisol levels stay elevated, blood pressure rises, and more importantly, we lose connection with the present moment. We become preoccupied with the past, replaying old arguments, regrets, or what-ifs, when in truth none of that can be changed. But what can change is how we carry it. That's where healing begins. Take Joyce, for example. She's 79. She spent nearly 20 years resenting her brother for not visiting her when their mother passed away. Every birthday, every Christmas, she'd think about that hurt. But last year, after a long talk with a friend, she said something shifted. "I just got tired," she told me. Tired of feeling angry. Tired of waiting for something that was never going to happen. She didn't call her brother. She didn't write a long letter. She just made peace with herself. And she said the next morning she felt 10 years lighter. That's the real gift of letting go. You don't do it for them. You do it for you. So if you're carrying something heavy, I invite you to ask, is this helping me live better today? Or is it stealing from the time I have left? Because the truth is, peace isn't something you stumble into at the end of life. It's something you build by choice, by forgiveness, and sometimes by walking away. Lesson number 2, the wisdom of embracing vulnerability. As we age, one of the most dangerous lies we start to believe is that we have to handle everything on our own. Maybe it comes from pride. Maybe for being raised in a generation where independence was seen as strength. Or maybe it's just the fear of becoming a burden. But here's what often gets overlooked. Refusing help doesn't make you stronger. It just makes life lonelier, riskier, and more exhausting than it needs to be. There's a quiet kind of suffering that comes with pretending everything is fine when it's not. You smile through the pain. You carry the groceries even though your back is screaming. You nod and say, "I'm doing all right," when your body, your heart, or your finances are clearly not all right. And what happens over time is you start to isolate. Not because people are pushing you away, but because you're not letting them in. From a psychological standpoint, this habit of self-isolation is a survival tactic. It's a way to preserve pride and dignity in a world that often equates asking for help with weakness. But in reality, the refusal to reach out can lead to deeper problems: depression, anxiety, even physical health issues. Studies consistently show that seniors with strong support systems not only live longer, but feel better emotionally and physically than those who try to go it alone. Think about that. Just having someone to talk to ask for a ride, or to help read through medical paperwork can be the difference between peace of mind and overwhelming stress. It's so many of us suffer silently because we think, I should be able to handle this by now. That sentence right there has probably done more harm to seniors than aging itself. I remember a man named Harold, 82 years old, proud Navy veteran, widowed for over a decade. He lived alone and rarely asked for anything. Then one winter, he slipped on the ice walking to his mailbox, broke his hip. After surgery and rehab, he admitted something quietly. It wasn't the fall that hurt most. It was realizing I could have just asked my neighbor to bring in the mail. That simple act of reaching out could have saved him months of recovery and pain. Asking for help isn't about giving up your independence. It's about protecting it. It's about knowing your limits and trusting that letting others support you now means you can keep showing up tomorrow. And the truth is, you're not meant to carry everything alone. No one is. Lesson number 3, the joy of finding purpose beyond work. For many older adults, a major source of misery is the feeling of being unneeded after retirement. For decades, our identity was tied to our job, our career, or our role as a provider. But once that chapter closes, a quiet emptiness can creep in. We lose the routine, the social connections, and the sense of accomplishment that work provided. But here's the thing. Purpose isn't something you retire from. It's something you rediscover. The most fulfilled seniors are not the ones who stop doing, but the ones who start doing something different. They find a new reason to get up in the morning that has nothing to do with a paycheck. This is a crucial psychological shift. Instead of looking back at what you used to do, you start looking forward to what you can still do. This could be anything: volunteering at a local library, learning a new instrument, mentoring a young person, or simply becoming a master gardener. The activity itself is less important than the feeling it provides. The feeling of being useful, of contributing, of learning, and of growing. I knew a man named Arthur, 75, who was a high-powered executive for 40 years. When he retired, he felt lost. He had all the time and money in the world, but no direction. He spent a year feeling bored and aimless until he started volunteering at a local animal shelter. He began walking dogs, cleaning kennels, and helping with adoptions. He told me, "I thought I was giving back, but the dogs gave me a reason to get out of bed every day. I've never felt more needed." Arthur found a new purpose that was more meaningful than any job title. Your purpose in this season of life is not to be busy, but to be intentional. It's about finding what brings you joy and using your time to cultivate it. Don't let the end of one chapter be the end of your story. It's simply the beginning of a new one, filled with possibilities you never had time for before. Lesson number 4, the practice of cultivating gratitude. One of the heaviest burdens we carry into old age isn't arthritis or failing eyesight. It's unresolved resentment, the grudges we've nursed for decades, the family arguments that never really healed, the friends who let us down, the moments we felt betrayed, dismissed, forgotten. These emotional wounds, though invisible, can weigh on our hearts more than any physical ache ever could. And here's the thing most people don't realize. Those grudges don't punish the person who hurt you. They punish you. Over time, bitterness hardens into a kind of emotional armor that keeps out not just pain, but also joy, peace, and meaningful connection. Research on aging and emotional health tells us something profound. Seniors who carry unresolved anger and bitterness often experience higher levels of stress, poor sleep, increased inflammation in the body, and even a greater risk of chronic illness. On the flip side, those who practice forgiveness, real, heart-level forgiveness, tend to report a sense of freedom, lightness, and deeper relationships, especially later in life. That doesn't mean you have to forget what happened. It doesn't mean pretending something didn't hurt or that the person didn't do wrong, but it does mean deciding that you're not going to let that pain control the rest of your story. There's also something else to consider. As we grow older, the number of days ahead is shorter than the days behind. Time becomes more precious. So the question becomes, do you really want to spend that time rehearsing old injuries? Or would you rather spend it creating peace within yourself and maybe, just maybe, mending a few broken fences? I knew a woman named Lorraine, 79 years old, who hadn't spoken to her sister in over 30 years. No one even remembered what the original fight was about. One day, Lorraine sat down, wrote a short letter that simply said, "I don't remember exactly what we fought about. I just know I miss you." A week later, her sister called. They laughed, they cried, and they got 3 more years together before her sister passed. 3 years she wouldn't have had if she'd waited. Grudges might feel like protection, but really they're prisons. And the key to the door is already in your hands. You don't need to wait for someone to apologize or make it right. You can decide right now to release the anger, not for them, but for you, because you deserve peace. You've earned it. Don't let bitterness steal one more good moment from your life. Lesson number 5, the freedom of accepting change. As we grow older, one of the hardest lessons life demands we learn is this: we can no longer control everything, and trying to do so only makes us more miserable. Whether it's our adult children making choices we don't agree with, our bodies no longer doing what we want them to, or the world changing in ways we barely recognize, we're constantly reminded that our grip is looser than it used to be. And that's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of reality. Control often feels like safety. It gives us the illusion that if we just plan enough, worry enough, or fight hard enough, we can stop bad things from happening. But here's what really happens when we chase control. In our later years, we get anxious, we get frustrated, and we alienate the very people we care about most. Trying to control what we can't only creates tension both inside our hearts and in our relationships. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means loosening the emotional grip on things that aren't ours to manage anymore. It means accepting that the world keeps turning, even if it doesn't do so the way we would have chosen. It means recognizing that the peace we seek doesn't come from everything going our way, but from our ability to stay steady when it doesn't. Let me share a real example. There was a woman named Carol, 79 years old, who used to get deeply upset whenever her son didn't follow her advice. She'd stew over it for days, lose sleep, and even let it affect their conversations. But after a long talk with her pastor, she made one small change. Every time she started to worry or lecture, she would pause, breathe, and say to herself, "He's living his life now, and I've lived mine." It didn't make her stop caring, but it helped her stop suffering. Over time, her relationship with her son improved, and more importantly, she felt lighter inside. This kind of emotional surrender isn't easy. It takes practice. It takes patience with yourself, and it takes trust that even if life doesn't follow your script, it can still be meaningful, beautiful, and worth showing up for every day. When we finally stop trying to manage everything and everyone, we make room for peace. We open ourselves to joy in the present moment. We allow space for laughter, for grace, and for connection, none of which need things to be perfect. They just need us to be present, humble, and open. You've made it this far in life, not by controlling everything, but by learning to adapt, by enduring storms, and by letting go when you need it to. That wisdom still lives in you. Trust it, because sometimes the best thing we can do for ourselves and for those we love is to release our grip and choose calm over control. Final thoughts. It's not too late to live your best life. When you think about it, life after 70 isn't about chasing youth or trying to prove anything. It's about deepening your understanding of yourself, making peace with the past, and protecting your emotional health from the traps that often go unnoticed. These 5 life lessons, letting go of past hurts, embracing vulnerability, finding purpose, cultivating gratitude, and accepting change, aren't just abstract ideas. They're tools. Tools that can help you navigate this phase of life with more peace, more confidence, and more joy than you might have thought possible. You see, misery after 70 doesn't just happen overnight. It sneaks in through habits of thought, unresolved regrets, or clinging to expectations that no longer serve you. But the beautiful truth is that you still have power. You still have choice. Every single day, you get to decide how you respond, where you put your energy, and how you want to live. And sometimes that choice begins with something as simple as remembering a lesson life tried to teach you years ago and deciding not to forget it again. There's no age limit on growth, no deadline on wisdom, and no expiration date on your ability to change your mindset and create a life that feels more aligned, more honest, and more free. You've made it through things others wouldn't understand. You've learned through experience, through hardship, through love, and through loss. And all of that has shaped a version of you that deserves peace, not pressure, that deserves joy, not judgment, that deserves calm, not chaos. So whether you're watching this because you feel a little lost, or just because you're always seeking to better yourself, know this: it's not too late, you're not too old, and you're certainly not alone. The more you honor these simple but powerful life lessons, the more you'll find that happiness isn't something that passed you by. It's something you can still create starting today.